Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Lorick and I'm with Brandanda Reviews of Tank Media Network. I wanted to make a video of my favorite albums of the 2010s. So here you go in no particular order. First off, Goliath by Steve Taylor and the Perfect Foil. I actually got to be a part of this video through the Kickstarter process, and I was very happy to be a very tiny part of this album coming together. I loved seeing how it was put together. The final product I loved. I love the musical component of it, but I also love the lyrics. To me, that is where a true album shines through, is how memorable, how honest, just how creative are the lyrics. And with Steve Taylor, he's always been known for his honesty, and with this album, it was very welcome to see it in full display once again. 10 Stories by Me Without You. Whenever I try to explain just who Me Without You is, I usually go back to this album. The concept of the album is that a circus train derails and all the animals leave. But it's kind of like a little children's fable where the animals are humanized. So they're sitting there talking about, is there a God? Or I fell in love with this girl years ago. I wonder if she still thinks about me the way I think about her. I just love albums that are super creative. And to me, when it comes to Me Without You, this one stands out just because of that concept. You're already taking a concept that loses a lot of people, but for those who stick around, it's really cool to see how you almost turn these children's stories into just these awesome, very powerful songs. Air for Free by Relient K. If you're like me and a lot of other Relient K fans, you kind of thought that Relient K was dead. Their album Collapsible Lung wasn't really met with a lot of success. It wasn't really accepted by a lot of Relient K fans. So a lot of people wondered, is this the end of Relient K? But Relient K released Air for Free, and that stopped all those questions. In my opinion, this is the best Relient K album from start to finish that they've ever released. It was very welcome to see a band enjoying what they were doing. And a lot of times in music, you don't really see that in the album itself, but this one, it really shone through, and that's why I love this album. Suda by The Last Bison. Whenever a band decides to reinvent themselves, it's always a huge gamble. And with The Last Bison, they had one of the biggest transformations that I've known as a band. In their original formation, they would all dress up as colonial people. It was all very acoustic, very just folky. I believe it was a 7-piece band, if I'm not mistaken. But now with Suda, in this formation, it was 3 guys. They just wore normal clothes now, and it's a lot more poppier or rock, if you will. At first, I didn't know how it was gonna work, but after listening through the album, I really loved the sound, and I thought they did a really good job of reinventing themselves and not sacrificing the integrity of their old music. So, Rivers in the Wasteland by Need to Breathe. I love this album because of just how raw it felt and how honest it felt. A lot of albums, it kind of feels like people just sit down and they write 3 or 4 good songs, then they just think, all right, we'll get 7 more and we'll have our album. But with this one, each song holds a different place to me, tells almost a different story. Even if you have multiple songs that are talking about hope or about depression or something, they do a job of painting a different person that's going through that. This Is Not a Test by Toby Mac. Like a few artists on this video, Toby Mac is an artist that I easily could have chosen a couple of his works. But when it comes to these types of videos or lists or whatever, I like to keep it to just the best, because I don't like lists where it says what's the best and you have 6 of the same artist. So I don't think that's super fair. Plus in this way you get to highlight other artists. But This Is Not the Test stands out to me because I believe that when you have someone like Toby Mac that is very versatile, he's always jumping from genre to genre, and a lot of his albums you can slap a label of, okay, this was his rap album or this was his popular album. But I think this is not a test. Sorry about that. It goes back to the format of it is everything mixed very evenly. So you have your rock, you have your rap, you have your alternative, you have his old sounds, you have his new sounds. So I really love that about this album. Next up is Blurryface by 21 Pilots. At first I thought this album was just hype. So after I bought it, it really just sat in my iTunes library for months and months. Then one of my friends told me I should go back and listen to it, and I fell in love with the album. Like I've said with a couple of these albums, I just love when an artist does something different, and 21 Pilots definitely does that. There's so many just different styles on this album. There's the honesty, and it was just very impressive to see how they took this very different concept, this very innovative concept, and made it work and turn it into a commercial success. On the Run by Children 18-3. When this album came out, I was going through a lot of different stuff personally, and there were so many songs on this album that helped me through different problems that I got to the point where I started wondering, is this album written for me? But that's one sign of a great album, is that when it doesn't just touch your ears, but it also touches your heart or your mind, makes you think. And this album definitely does that. They tackle a lot of different issues on the album, whether it's about people who don't like the rock in the music, whether it's about saying goodbye to someone, or whether it's just about being a person of faith and asking, why are you afraid to step out in faith? Ruh Banach by John Rubin. This album was the first album released by John Rubin since 2009. So a lot of these songs have just been stirring up. And if you're a fan of John Rubin like me, you always notice that his albums were always kind of a mixture of, you had these fun things, you also had this kind of dark nature. And with this album, it was a lot more of the cynicism and kind of trying to tackle that and battle that and work through it. I really loved it in this album. It kind of felt like John Rubin, now that he was independent, was able to venture out and actually explore those things without fear of, oh, how is this going to do selling at Family Christian or at Lifeway or whatever. And finally, Cold Hard Want by House of Heroes. Each House of Heroes album features a different concept. Sometimes it's a story of a couple of people, sometimes it's an era, sometimes it's about a place. But with this one, it was more of a topic of, what does desire look like? What does wanting something and craving it look like? What does it look like to chase something? What does it look like to have that thing? And after you have that thing, what does it feel like to enjoy it? Is it worth the struggles? Is it worth the pain? Is it worth the road you travel to get to that place? And with all House of Heroes albums, they make these very serious things still sound great with all the music behind it. So, highly recommend it. And there you have it. That is my list of my top 10 albums of the 2010s. Let me know in the comment section how many of the albums you knew. If you don't know any of these albums, then let me know, what is your top 10 list? Make sure you like this video. Make sure you check out Tank Media Network. Not only will you find other Brandanda reviews of albums, but also a lot of awesome content on the channel as a whole. Whether it's talk shows, whether it's skits, we'll probably have something for you. So check it out, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.